For decades, Dracula and Frankenstein were the creepiest characters that ever preyed upon fearful moviegoers. But in the early 80s, a horribly burned serial killer came back from the dead to haunt our most terrifying nightmares.
5, 6,
He wears a dirty brown hat. He's horribly burned. He has razors on his right hand.
7, 8, gonna stay up late. 9, 10, never sleep again.
His name is Freddy Krueger. He was a child murderer before he died. And after he died, well, he became something worse.
Freddy Krueger's grotesque face is now immortalized in horror history, and so is the man who brought this new legend of terror to life, Robert Englund.
Robert Englund! Bobby Englund! What do I think of that wimp, that loser, that Screen Actors Guild peanut? He's lucky to be alive. Living off my residuals. Boy, wait till I find out his social security number.
Before he accepted the role of Freddy Krueger in 1984, Robert Englund was already established as a character actor with dozens of film and television credits on his resume. Classically trained, Robert cut his teeth on Chekhov and Shakespeare while studying acting at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in Rochester, Michigan, and at California State University in Northridge. But Englund's qualifications were irrelevant after 1984, when Freddy Krueger became a permanent fixture in popular culture.
I remember the first time there was a Freddy Krueger joke on The Tonight Show and Johnny Carson, and then somebody sent me a Gary Larson cartoon with Freddy Krueger in it, and then, you know, it was a Playboy cartoon with Freddy Krueger, and then, now there's pinball machines with Freddy Krueger on them, so you kind of know that you become part of the culture.
The legend of Freddy Krueger started when a writer-director, Wes Craven, read a newspaper article about teenagers who suffered nightmares so horrifying they literally died in their sleep.
You haven't slept yet, have you?
Not really.
What'd you do to your arm?
I burned it in English class.
Craven then had the idea to create a repulsive killer who lives in dreams, slaying teenagers with a glove made of razors.
I know Wes is esoteric in a lot of the things that motivated him on the Elm Street and a lot of the source material that Wes drew from. But it's strange to me that in Hollywood, which has used the dream sequence as a cliche, let alone as a veritable old standby warhorse. I mean, whether you're talking about MGM musicals or old, detective film noirs, whatever you're talking about. In all of these films, the dream sequence has been utilized by Hollywood, and no one ever thought to use it before as this sort of, spine and vertebrae of a horror film.
I'm gonna go and look for somebody. And I want you to stand like a sort of a guard, okay? Okay?
I think the best fiction reflects, in some way, very accurately what's out there, but in a condensed, personalized form. Freddy Krueger, for instance, I think doesn't exist out there in any sort of persona like that, but those elements of his personality, the sort of viciousness, the cleverness of evil, the way it can invade our most innocent dreams, is out there, but it's sort of ineffable. It's unformed, it's chaotic. It appears as wars, it appears as bad parents, it appears as betraying lovers, whatever. But when you have it all condensed down into a single character, it's somehow easier for our minds to process and identify.
Despite its unique premise and memorable villain, A Nightmare on Elm Street was almost never made. The script floated around several Hollywood studios before landing on the desk of Robert Shea at New Line Cinema. He was immediately intrigued by the idea, and he knew audiences would love it too.
In a sense, film is a kind of a dream, and you're not quite sure when you're watching films whether you're in the story or you're really watching it. And a really successful film, of course, hypnotizes you as a viewer into really being excited about the characters and finally committing yourself to the story so that for a couple of hours you're living that story.
Whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
How do you make more money? Simple. You get a better job. How do you get a better job? Easy. You train at home for a better career. At Education Direct, more than 13 million men and women have trained for job promotions and new careers without ever setting foot inside a classroom. And now, at home in your spare time, you can get your career diploma. Choose from any one of these courses: high school, child daycare, auto mechanics, medical office assistant, animal sciences, interior decorator, PC repair, computer graphic artist, legal assistant, teacher aide, bookkeeping, fitness and nutrition, business management, accounting, child psychology, police sciences, aircraft mechanic, drafting with AutoCAD, hotel restaurant management, small engine repair, electrician, medical transcription, or motorcycle repair. Compare your present salary with the money you could be making in any one of these careers. They'll be repeated for you at the end of this commercial. It's easy. Just get a pencil and write down the course you're most interested in. Then call the toll-free number and we'll send you free information on the course you've selected. You'll learn how easy it is to study at home and about the many benefits of training with Education Direct for that better job. A new career is just a click away at educationdirect-canada.com. Study anytime. It's fast, it's easy, and it's affordable. Take an exam online and get instant feedback. Check your grades, access your student account information, even email your instructors if you have a question. Education Direct is there for you. So secure the future you want with career training from Education Direct. Here are those courses again. Call now for free information. There's absolutely no obligation.
Train for a new career and make more money. Call 1-800-327-3783 for free information. Or visit educationdirect-canada.com. That's 1-800-327-3783, 1-800-327-3783, or educationdirect-canada.com.
Do you have a deep, burning question that keeps you awake at night? Call for help.
Hey, Leo.
Welcome to the show.
Hey.
Call for Help shows you how to get the most out of personal technology.
Setting up your first home network, we'll show you how.
You need a network router.
Okay.
That is the heart of your network.
Join Leo Laporte, Monica Latanwa, and Andy Walker for straight answers and a bit of fun as they increase your tech IQ. Weeknights at 6 on G4 Tech TV. To order G4 Tech TV, call your local cable or satellite provider.
You're going out there to destroy them, right?
No!
Not to study. Not to bring back. But to wipe them out.
That's the plan.
Sigourney Weaver stars in James Cameron's mother of all sequels.
All right, I'm in.
This time, it's war. Aliens, Sunday at 10:05.
I need you, Jesse. We got special work to do here, you and me.
In 1985, the first A Nightmare on Elm Street sequel was released. In Freddy's Revenge, Krueger appeared in the dreams of a boy named Jesse, who moved into the famous Elm Street house. Freddy then used Jesse's body to finish off old business. The film's budget almost doubled the first one, but it didn't do much better at the box office. Still, the Nightmare on Elm Street movies were clearly a hit with audiences who couldn't help being entranced by the disfigured killer whose tongue was as sharp as his fingernails.
You are all my children now.
Freddy Krueger is a popular dude. He's funny, but he scares you at the same time.
On Elm Street, this is what we call a fixer-upper.
Freddy Krueger is popular because he brings humor and horror together in this very strange way.
We're the first horror film to have a monster with a personality, if you will. And Freddy, by cracking wise as he does, it makes an audience laugh, and they drop that tension, and it makes it all that much easier to scare them again, set them up and build them up for a second scare.
In 1987, Freddy came back for a third scare in A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors.
Sorry to keep you waiting. Perhaps if there was more of me to spread around.
Part 3 also saw the return of Nancy, who since became a doctor, studying dreams in a psychiatric hospital. Nancy discovered some of her teenaged patients saw Freddy Krueger in their dreams, which meant they would soon die without her help.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV.
Just 1 year later, the fourth Elm Street movie was delivered to bloodthirsty Freddy fans. In The Dream Master, Freddy Krueger was resurrected again to terrorize teens.
You shouldn't have buried me. I'm not dead.
This version of A Nightmare on Elm Street introduced the character of Alice, who had to destroy Freddy using the powers previously held by Kristen.
Now no one sleeps. Souls of my children!
You'll need my power!
By 1988, Freddy Krueger's power as a box office draw was solidified, and his face had become a cultural icon.
I don't think of Freddy as sexy, and I don't play that, whatever that means. And it's hard to play abstracts, evil. But I do play Freddy as confident, and I do play him as vain. And maybe there's something in the vanity of Freddy. I mean, he's burned and disfigured, but he still has that bit of a swagger, and he wears the hat to cover his bald scar tissue. And he wears the hat rather jauntily. And Time magazine said I had sort of a Jimmy Cagney walk, which I thought was kind of nice.
But Freddy's physical appearance isn't the only explanation for his mass appeal.
I think that it's sort of like a kind of collective American campfire that teenagers that don't have their driver's licenses yet go do every summer or do every fall or every Halloween, and they share this kind of collective myth of this Freddy Krueger, the father, the SOB of us all, this absolute evil incarnate with this sort of sense of humor and twisted personality. And he's become the hook man of the campfire. He's become that kind of surrogate experience in a culture that's getting, so rapidly homogenized and mini-malled that there's not too much left that we can call organic or campfire anymore.
In 1989, the fire kept burning as Freddy files were treated to A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child.
9, 10, he's back again.
If I had to describe it, I would call it a sort of a hallucinatory Freddy meets Rosemary's Baby.
Dr. Moore, do unborn babies dream?
Is that why you're here? To see if your baby's having nightmares?
Alice is preggers, as they say in London, in Nightmare 5. And our gimmick is, and this is the echo of the Rosemary's Baby, is that her unborn child is dreaming. And so she has nightmares.
It's a boy!
You can't come back!
In The Dream Child, Freddy even possesses the baby so he can be reborn once again to kill in the real world.
This is a mock-up just for paint tests, and this is basically what he's going to look like. He'll be able to squint and blink, and his lips will pull back, revealing little Freddy baby teeth.
Although Part 5 delivered a whole new incarnation of Freddy Krueger, Robert says the story was still loyal to Elm Street's roots.
It uses the mythology originally established by Wes Craven and then aided and abetted by the following sequels, the sort of perimeters that Wes has laid down. And it's mined, Nightmare 5 mines that mythology more than any other sequel of the film has. The group of kids, the recurring images, the Elm Street house, the boiler room, what it takes to resurrect Freddy, the strong female component, all of these tried and true elements that are necessary in the myth.
Of course, Freddy Krueger would never let mythology get in the way of his work.
Aren't you eating?
It's always kind of fun to look forward to how Freddy's going to take advantage of somebody's tragic flaw. In Nightmare 5, for instance, the girl who could never be too thin and too perfect, with Greta. This is Frederick Le Caterer, the most disgusting foodie trendoid caterer in the world.
Bon appetit!
Play your music. Play.
There is nothing you could ask that I could refuse.
Finally taking a break from the Elm Street series, Robert Englund played the title role in a 1989 remake of The Phantom of the Opera. The classic story followed a disfigured outcast living beneath a Paris opera house who develops an obsession with a young ingenue named Christine. As one might expect, Robert put his own special touch on the Phantom, making him more frightening and menacing than the ones audiences had seen in the past.
Desire is only a demon, Christine. Hell is getting what you desire. You will never live here again. Ever!
From the creator of the X-Files, welcome to The Edge.
I have these visions that are the manifestation of pure evil. Dead can't speak. Can I trust you?
Millennium Season 2. Own it on DVD today.
Mama? What does dry skin enjoy the most? Every touch. Nivea Body Milk is so rich you immediately feel the intensive care. Nivea Body Milk, the richest care dry skin can get.
There's a yellow rose in Texas that I am gonna see. No other cowboy knows her, no cowboy, only me. She cried so when I left her, it nearly broke my heart. And if I ever find her, we never more will.
International Texas Chicken Thin Crust Pizza. New from McCain. Taste being there.
Coming soon, 31 days of great TV. This January, you can preview more than 40 of the most original and exciting television channels in Canada. That's 31 days of great TV from Canada's leading-edge specialty networks at your fingertips, including 4 fabulous theme weekends. Your preview begins January 1st. For more information, visit greattv.ca. Are you ready for 31 days of great TV?
Mott's Fruitsations.
They make different kinds because they know I like different kinds.
Fruit-blended applesauce in a variety of great-tasting flavors with no added sugar, like Granny Smith.
Real good.
With a full fruit serving in every cup.
M-O-T-T-S. Mott's. I just can't stop loving them. I just love them the way they taste.
Mott's Fruitsations unsweetened.
Stranded in the wild with only meager provisions, will our 3 castaways crumble under the pressure?
These aren't Tampax. I don't think so. No way. It's just wrong. Follow me.
Have they completely lost their minds? Or are they holding out for Tampax? The one, the only Tampax. Or try Tampax 17 with a smooth rounded tip.
I have a new friend. He told me to call him Charlie.
Charlie doesn't exist.
Gonna make him mad.
If you want to know the secret,
Come out, wherever you are.
you have to play the game.
Who's Charlie? Where is he?
Hide and seek.
What you drawing there?
You die.
January 28th, only in theaters. Some believe it's coincidence.
Good point.
Some believe it's simply a myth.
Let me guess. You've been framed.
Some believe it's just a big bunch of bull.
That's right.
One thing's for sure.
What's that?
Something real nasty always happens on Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th, the series, coming up next.
Well, I better be starting my rounds now.
In 1990, Robert Englund steered away from horror movies when he played a comic villain named Smiley in The Adventures of Ford Fairlane.
Right. Anyway, you want it.
You crack me up, you know that?
Preferring to slice people up, Robert came back as the gloved one a year later in Freddy's Dead, the final nightmare.
No screaming while the bus is in motion.
In this installment of the Nightmare series, all the children of Springfield were dead, and Freddy found himself all dressed up with no one to kill.
I took all their children away from them, and now that's over.
Freddy's Dead introduced Nightmare fans to Krueger's daughter Maggie and to a final scene, originally shown in 3D, which took place inside Freddy's brain. Contrary to the film's title, Freddy's Dead wasn't the final nightmare. Krueger was still powerful enough to haunt the dreams of the people who created him.
During part one, I was staying up very late at night to finish off the last week of shooting. And I was getting 1 hour of sleep a night, and I would hallucinate and dream that he was pushing through the wall, pushing his face through the wall. I would see that in my bedroom.
Everyone said that when you start doing these movies that you'd have dreams about Freddy Krueger, and I never thought that I would, but I did. I was in this house, and I don't know what house it was, but my mother was there and Freddy Krueger was there. There were all these closet doors, and every time I opened up a door, I would hear my mother asking me for help, but when I turned the door, I didn't know if it was going to be her or Freddy Krueger.
I only had one Freddy dream on Nightmare 3. I dreamt that I was on a bus, riding along, and all of a sudden, everybody on the bus starting to turn into Freddy. And like in the Nightmare series, where if you don't wake yourself up, you die, I woke myself up really quick.
Freddy Krueger has even haunted the dreams of his creator, Wes Craven, giving him the idea to make another nightmare movie, appropriately called Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
What happens if the Nightmare on Elm Street series is stopped, the character Freddy Krueger is killed off? What happens if the essence behind that character is released because the story is no longer being told? And he decides to cross over into our reality.
Freddy comes to Hollywood, and he's not happy about it. Freddy Krueger wants to stop the making of Nightmare on Elm Street movies. He wants to stop the sequels. He wants to stop the merchandising. He's been rendered impotent by lunchboxes and dolls and bubblegum cards and MTV videos, and he wants to become all the evil that he can be.
But the fans, the fans, God bless them, they're clamoring for more. I guess evil never dies, right?
What made this sequel unique was that the people responsible for creating the Nightmare movies became Freddy's victims.
Have you been having nightmares?
Look, we need to talk, but not over the phone.
Can I come over?
Actually, Heather, today's no good. There's something I have to finish. All of us are portraying ourselves, and we're all trying to make a new Nightmare film. Wes Craven, Robert Shea, the head of New Line Cinema, and we're trying to convince the beautiful young actress, Heather Langenkamp, to do another Nightmare film. And she is very troubled. She has a young son. She's not so sure this is a good idea anymore, these horror films.
I refused at first because I'm not really very interested in that kind of movie anymore. But I realized pretty soon that my son is being tormented by someone who seems like Freddy, and Freddy seems to be everywhere all of a sudden.
Wes, how can we stop him?
I think the only way to stop him is to make another movie.
It's getting strange. It's like part of the theme of the movie is becoming like part of the making of the movie. You know, there's this fine line between Hollywood and the making of a horror movie and the making of the horror movie turning into a horror experience.
Putting Freddy Krueger to rest, Robert again collaborated with producer Wes Craven to make The Wishmaster, a movie about an evil genie who escapes from his eternal prison to cause misery.
You're granted 3 wishes, and you realize that the wishes empower the evil of the genie, and also he turn the tables on you with a wish. If you ask for $1 million, you know, the ceiling can open up and $1 million could fall on you and bury you alive. So the audience, by the third of the movie in, is going to be screaming at the screen, you know, don't make a wish, stop.
In addition to Robert Englund, the cast of Wishmaster included 2 other horror movie legends, Kane Hodder, who played Jason in Friday the 13th Parts 7 through 10, and Tony Todd, the actor better known as Candyman.
Be my victim.
I think it's a grand tradition, and it's really, you know, they are stars, and it's like bringing together, you know, any other group of stars into a movie. It's interesting. It's fascinating to watch them interplay with each other rather than being in their individual movies. And they're old friends by this time, so it's like watching an all-star game, you know?
In 1998, Robert made a cameo appearance as a university professor in the teen fright flick Urban Legend.
What's wrong? Something you might have heard about mixing Pop Rocks and soda?
Well, supposedly, your stomach and your intestines, everything burst.
Really? Anyone you know die this way?
That same year, Robert took a small role as the victim of a perverse serial killer with a fetish for body modification in Dee Snider's Strangeland.
Somebody's got to take that boy out.
In 2003, Robert will once again don his deadly glove for a film horror fans have been demanding for years. In Freddy vs. Jason, Hollywood's most famous serial killers will duke it out in what promises to be the genre's most exciting battle since Godzilla met King Kong. So while Jason might put an end to Freddy Krueger's career, we definitely won't be seeing the end of Robert Englund. He'll still be in the screaming room and in your nightmares.
Whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
Candyman.